everybody. Warm welcome to Amazing You podcast and YouTube channels, the channels where stories of resilience, triumph, and unwavering hope come to life. And in each episode, we dive into the inspiring journey of individuals who have faced the toughest challenges heads on and emerge victorious. Our aim is to be a beacon of hope and inspiration by offering a guiding light to those navigating through difficult times. And whether you are dealing with health challenges, professional setbacks, or personal struggles, this channel is dedicated to uplifting your spirit and showing you that even in the darkest moments, there's a path to hope and triumph. So join us as we share powerful stories that transcend adversity, reminding you that resilience is a force within us all. So be prepared, everyone, to be inspired and to find the strength to navigate life's challenges. And this is Amazing You channel where hope takes center stage. And I would like to say a huge thank you to the audience for the past 3 years for watching, sharing, and subscribing. I am your host. My name is Dr. Rani Thanacoody. I am a clinical hypnotherapist using rapid transformational therapy method. I am a Mars-Venus life and relationship coach, astrologer, breathwork coach, tarot reader, past life regression practitioner, chakra practitioner, life force compassion practitioner, and star magic facilitator. And today, I am very honored to introduce you to the wonderful Vicki Paris Goodman. Vicki is a great author, and Vicki lived most of her life in Los Angeles area, and she now resides in Arizona. She's a retired mechanical engineer. She sings and plays violin semi-professionally, and for over 20 years, she served a Long Beach area newspaper as a theater critic. She's currently writing her second book, Speed Bumps and Other Impediments to Life in the Fast Lane, which is a slightly self-depreciating treatise on the trials of life, especially from the point of view of a type A personality. Vicki is also the author of To Some With Love, a surviving spouse story of inspired grief. And after the death in 2019 of her husband Sam, the love of her life, she was unexpectedly flooded with optimism and presented with a host of possibilities for an exciting and meaningful future. She received valuable insights, seemingly coming from an outside source, enabling her to conceive a more realistic and uplifting understanding of death and loss. So let's welcome everyone to Amazing You, Vicki Paris Goodman. Welcome, Vicki, to Amazing You.
Well, I'm so pleased to be here. Thank you for having me, Rani.
You are very welcome, Vicki. And I was reading your bio. It's very impressive how you graduated as an engineer, then you became a theater critic, and now you are an author. Would you please tell us more about your story?
Yes, well, I do have a number of interests, and I was reviewing theater on the weekends while I was working as an engineer, is kind of the way that went, and so I enjoy writing. And when it came time to write my book, I had all the experience from over 20 years of theater reviewing, and it made it a lot easier for me to produce a book. So the reason I wrote the book has to do with my story of how my husband Sam passed from liver cancer in 2019. What makes my story even more startling is that I was raised in a very secular household. My parents, grandparents, all of my relatives believed in nothing at all spiritual or religious. I had come to believe in a higher power some years before Sam passed, but I hadn't taken that very far. I just thought, it doesn't make sense that nothing created all this. So that's about as far as I'd taken it. So that was the starting point. We had 2 years from Sam's diagnosis in 2017 until he passed in 2019. And on the day he passed, I expected to be just devastated, even though I'd had 2 years to get used to the idea, because the doctors all told us there was no chance Sam would survive this particular diagnosis. But instead, I was really flooded with optimism that day. It was so soon after he passed, within a couple of hours, really, that it was unseemly. And my first instinct was to push it away. It didn't seem right. But then I thought I was so strong during our 2 year ordeal, and I took really very good care of Sam toward the end when he needed taking care of, that I thought if good things want to come my way, even on the day he passed, maybe I should let them.
Okay.
It felt like a helping hand was coming down from somewhere. I thought, ooh, is Sam helping me? Is it God? I didn't know. But I thought, okay, I'm going to let this helping hand guide me forward into the next chapter of life. And that is exactly what happened. People have asked me, well, did the other shoe drop? Was this just denial on your part? That's what I thought it was. But nothing ever happened. It's been 5 years now. And even though I grieved and I still get sad once in a while, I mostly have happy thoughts about Sam. And I have ever since he passed. It's mostly been happy thoughts. And so, no, the other shoe never dropped. It turned out I was not in denial. This is just the way it happened. And if it's available to me, I believe it has to be available to others. And in the meantime, insights came to me. I was blessed with insights, some of which came to me after I published the book, To Sam with Love. So I put those in some audio episodes that I make available to you free of charge. You can subscribe to those. They're really good. They have a completely different take on death. I ask the question in the audio episodes, is death really tragic? I say if you have a particular belief system, which most people do, if you believe in God, a loving God, and a beautiful afterlife, and if you believe that God has a plan for each one of us, and that the plan for my life, let's say, was for Sam to pass ahead of me, I will join him there later. In the meantime, I have more things to learn, more things to experience, even perhaps things to teach others. So that's sort of my story in a nutshell.
Vicki, thank you so much for sharing part of your journey with us. And I am sorry for the loss of the
Thank you.
passing away of your husband, Sam. He never really leave us. Spirit, we live forever. We never really die. It's just that
Right.
physical body, because we are more than that physical body. We are spiritual being. So I am really, really happy to hear you talk about this kind of topic, because it's not very often that we talk about death. We always associate death with something which is bad, but it is, in a way, it's a kind of a celebration. That's why you didn't feel so sad, because he was going to a place where he would be better. He would be free from suffering, from pain. And what did you learn from that experience? What were the knowledge you gained about life after death? Vicki, would you like
Well,
to share with us?
I would like to. one of the things that happened after Sam passed was the hospice we had used offered me meetings with their chaplain about once a month for a full year after Sam passed. And I said yes to that. And I had some wonderful meetings with her. But at the very beginning, I think our very first meeting, I asked her questions about the afterlife. I wanted to know if Sam was around and I wanted to know where he was. And she recommended the story of a neurosurgeon who had had a near death experience. He was a secular neurosurgeon. And reading about his near death experience and the really divinely inspired way that he developed this brain infection to begin with, that his colleagues who were taking care of him in the hospital couldn't get under control. His whole story, which I don't have time to go into all of it, but it was so divinely inspired. He had no way to get the infection. They couldn't get it under control. He was going to probably not survive it, and if he did, his brain was destroyed. He would be in a vegetative state for the rest of his life. Well, he survives to resume his career, go on speaking tours, and write his book. And that book and reading about his near-death experience took me the rest of the way immediately to fully believing in God and an afterlife. And that's quite a statement coming from an engineer, a very logical, analytical type,
That's true.
but I have never doubted since then the existence of God and a beautiful afterlife. And so I feel that God has chosen me to be the messenger of this message about life and death and his plan and the afterlife and the fact that death is not tragic. Maybe I've been chosen for this mission because I've been so secular my whole life, which maybe makes it a little more believable. I speak fairly well. I write very well. I have the skill set to get a message out there. So, and the other thing is, I just thought of something else I'd like to say is I'm not the helpful type. I'm nothing like you are, Ronnie. You obviously just exude help to the world, to other people. Everything you do says that. That's not the case with me. In fact, I've always had a little guilt that I wasn't more forthcoming with volunteer opportunities. I never really embraced them very much, as so many people do when they retire. I didn't do that. But when this happened, I saw a way for me to help others. And it just completely transformed me from someone that I always felt was a little bit maybe self-involved to someone who's really trying to get a message out to the world so that people don't have to grieve so hard and so long and with so much guilt. Because there's nothing to feel guilty about. I now know that. If you have a loved one pass and you feel almost immediately that you want to begin moving on into the next chapter of life, you don't need to tell yourself, no, it's too soon. That's all wrong. Absolutely not. And that's part of the message as well. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vicki. Thank you for your kind words. About myself, I was always, due to the lot of trauma, that has caused me to become a people pleaser. So after doing so much of the work, now I want to help other people to know that they don't need to live in the trauma, in the pain, and that they can have a happier life, a more joyful life. So that's the reason I am doing the podcast and having you to share your story with all the guest speakers so that people learn all these different topics that you are sharing about afterlife, about faith, and that we are more than just this body, and we have a lot more to discover about ourselves. Like you discovered your various gifts of writing and theater critic and all the other things that you do. So that I think that's why I want people to build that resilience and know that they are here for more, you know, whether they have been in a grief period. Yes, it's okay to, they have to spend that time in that grieving period, but then they have to lift themselves up like you did and know that they are here on their journey as well. Never to forget that. We are on our own journey of discovering who we
Yes.
are. You know, when you were talking, you said something very interesting at the beginning. You said that when your husband passed away, you received that helping hand. Can you tell us more who those helping hands are?
Yes. Well, I'll never know for sure. At the time, I thought maybe Sam is already reaching over from the afterlife, or maybe it's God, or maybe both of them.
Mm.
But I am not accustomed in the past to having spiritual experiences
Mm.
like so many people report.
Yeah.
Now I do.
Okay.
But that was the first thing that happened. And I thought, what's going on? I feel like I'm being guided in a direction I wouldn't normally go. I'm I'm not a particularly optimistic person. I'm not particularly pessimistic. I'm kind of middle of the road. And suddenly, with this optimism that was coming my way so soon after Sam passed, and this feeling that something was trying to turn me in a direction that I wouldn't have gone on my own initiative at that point. That's the only way I can think of to describe it, Ronnie. And I that's why I questioned whether to even pay attention to it, but it was a very strong feeling that it was there. And so I thought, okay, I'm obviously going to need some help. Maybe I should accept it and see where this leads. I
Yeah.
can always stop if it doesn't lead to a good place, but it did. It led to a wonderful place. Opportunities started coming my way to do things that maybe I couldn't have done had Sam survived. Opportunities to travel to exotic places that I know he wouldn't have wanted to go. I went to Antarctica,
Wow.
and so many more things. I
Mm.
decided to act in a play at the theater or audition for one. I got the part, even though there were many more actors who were much more experienced at those auditions. But, all kinds of wonderful things happened very within the first year after Sam passed. And they were all such blessings.
Mm. Wow. Thank
Yeah.
you. And are you still, do you still feel these helping hands around you even today? In the
It's kind
after
of
his passed away?
evolved.
Yeah. Okay.
It, I no longer describe it as that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it felt like
Okay.
on that day Sam passed.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, it's more that it's more a combination of my own free will and the insights that God presents me with so frequently.
Mm-hmm.
That never happened before either, So I know that I've evolved to the point where now I'm a strong believer in a higher power that presents us with adversity in life to teach us things.
Mm-hmm.
And we had best be vigilant so that we don't miss the takeaway. Otherwise, it's going to keep presenting those adverse those items of adversity to us until we finally get the message. So we may as well learn them as early as possible so we can, move on to the next thing. So, that's another insight that was presented to me. One of the things I'd like to talk about, Ronnie, is some it's kind of, I'm kind of bringing this now back down to earth, but I do have some suggestions. I don't know why I'm tearing up here. Um, Some suggestions to people who lose a loved one.
Oh, yes.
You know, a lot of us who have lost someone will have someone close to us that will, with very good intentions, will tell us, keep yourself as busy as possible so you don't have time to think or feel. In other words, so you don't feel the pain of the loss. I instinctively knew that was bad advice, well intended, but
Mm.
bad advice. And I ignored it. Instead, what I did was I started moving into this next chapter of life, accepting some of these opportunities that were coming my way. But I made sure there was time, quiet time, for me to process what had happened to my life. You know, I was alone in my house now that I had shared with Sam. That's a big change. And he wasn't there to share things with. I'd have all this fun doing these new things, these opportunities that were coming my way, but I would get home and feel empty. And I knew that I was on the right path, but that I needed to accept that things wouldn't be great for a while. They were good, but they wouldn't be as good as they would have been if I'd still had Sam there to share things with. So that's something to be aware of too. It doesn't mean you're on the wrong path if you feel a little empty when you get done doing something that you enjoy. It just means this is your this is your reality right now until you're ready to maybe move on with another person if that's the path you will take. You know, so that's something I wanted to make people aware of. Strike a balance between activity and quiet time. The quiet time spent processing what has happened to your life, and go ahead and have fun with the rest of the time.
Thank you so much, Vicky, for sharing that. I think that's very, very helpful for the audience because we live in a world where we are always busy and we don't take time to just sit quietly. And that's so important. We, whatever event, whatever happens in your day, it's so important to take that time where we do nothing and just think like you did.
Yeah.
Give us that time, and that is so important. I heard of that recently from a spiritual teacher who said, now at this current time, it's so important to find that quiet place and do nothing. You know, I did that
Right.
during my holidays. That was so good for my whole body, mind, and soul. I just sat, I took books with me to go to the beach, and I had my cousin with me, and we were talking, but that time she was reading, but I couldn't read. I felt just like doing nothing. And that filled me from inside, just watching nature, just doing nothing, just leaving the mind out of all that thinking, of that doing, the body. And that does so much good to the soul, to the body, to the mind. Yeah.
Yes. And one of the things I found for me is it didn't have to be sitting quietly. It could be taking a walk by myself or going
Mm.
on a little hike by myself. You know, anything where your mind can, you mentioned taking in nature. I think that promotes the kind of processing that I'm talking about. You have to process what's happened to your life. It's a huge change. And so all of those things facilitate that, and you shouldn't avoid it. I think you'll find that it's not as difficult or painful as you might think it will be. It's not something to be avoided. It's something you're going to have to go through anyway. So, you know, why put it off?
I think
And I found it rather pleasant, actually, to be quiet and blessed with assistance from beyond and blessed with insights so that I could see what all of this really meant in the overall scheme of life and God's plan.
absolutely. And talking about insights, you were mentioning at the beginning that you had some insights and you shared one with us. What are some other insights that you receive and that you could share with us, Vicki, today?
Um, I know in our culture, a lot of people believe there's an ideal life that consists of meeting someone maybe in your 20s, getting married to that person, and being with them where you both live happily in your marriage into your 70s or 80s, and then you pass on within a fairly short time of each other. You've spent your entire adult life with that one person, and there seems to be an ideal. And I know a lot of people, including myself, felt that since my life didn't take that path, that it was less than, it was somehow inferior to that ideal. And one of the insights with which I was blessed was no, God has a plan for us that in some cases will encompass that ideal. For others of us, we are meant by God to live a more compartmentalized or segmented life where there are maybe two or three or more chapters of life. And maybe that involves spending those chapters with different people. So I no longer think of that as an ideal, living your entire adult life with one person. I think of all of these as equally blessed and equally beneficial. They're just different. And that's another part of the message that allows people to maybe get rid of something that made them feel bad or as though they might have failed in life. No, all of these things are meant to teach us. And we all have different lessons to learn from everyone else. So it's a unique path we take, and there's a reason for that unique path.
That is so true, Vicki. I needed to hear that myself. and and I think it's so important. It's so good to hear the message from somebody else and to receive it, because yeah, we are all humans and we all make mistakes, and we hold on to guilt, and to what society have been telling us. But we have to know that we are here to experience as human beings, to experience relationships, to experience life with each other. And every person teaches us something about us, about life. It doesn't mean that they will be with us in the physical form forever, but they live in spirit with us forever. Yeah.
That's right.
Thank you so much, Vicki. And a quick question, this one. In challenging times, what personal mantra or philosophy that you do rely on to stay resilient and focused?
Something I mentioned earlier. Anytime there's adversity in my life, no matter what it is, whether it's a bad hair day or something terrible, you lose a loved one, your house burns down, whatever it might be, and everything in between, I now know that there's a lesson in this. And I better think about that and make sure that I gain the benefit of God's intended takeaway from having put me through this adversity. And I think that is a really important part of the message too, because, the death of a loved one isn't the only adversity we face in life. There's all kinds of things. And I now realize I spent years with God trying to teach me the same lesson and I just didn't get the message. And now I find he's not really trying to teach me that message anymore or that lesson anymore, because I finally did get the message. And, it's kind of funny to think about. But, you suffer a lot going through these adversities over and over again. And God's just trying to get our attention. Hey, you know, you can, there's a takeaway here, and you need to hear it.
Thank you so much. And beside the book that you've written and the new book that is coming, can you share with us these projects or initiatives that you are currently working on? And how can people stay updated or get in touch with you, Vicki?
Oh, thank you for asking, Rani. Yes, I have a site called inspiredgrief.com. And there, please go there immediately and subscribe to the 3 audio episodes. They're free. All you have to do is put in your first name and email address, and you'll get those audio episodes. And on that same page at inspiredgrief.com, you can buy my book, To Sam with Love, A Surviving Spouse's Story of Inspired Grief. You can buy it at a discount there if you'd like. And there's also a little button on that page that says blog. And if you click on that, you can get to some blog articles that I've written. So it's all available, and I think it's all very worthwhile. So please go subscribe to the audio episodes first. I really want people to have the benefit of those insights.
Thank you so much, Vicki, for sharing your websites and the gifts that you are offering for free to everybody who is listening and watching. And we are coming to the end of this podcast. Vicki, it has been such a pleasure and honor to host you today, to listen to your story and all your wisdom that you've been sharing to the audience. I would like to say a big thank you. And if you have any final words you would like to share with us today, Vicki?
I would like to say is that it's God's wisdom, and I am just the messenger.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me, Rani. This has been a joy. Really, thank you. I really welcome the opportunity to get the message out there via your podcast.
Thank you so much. It's been really, really a great pleasure to host you. And before we finish, can you tell us quickly about your new book that is coming?
Oh, completely different topic than To Sam with Love.
Okay.
It's called it's called Speed Bumps and Other Impediments to Life in the Fast Lane. And it's about the trials of life, especially from the point of view of a type A personality. And if you're not familiar with type A, it's just, those impatient, kind of driven types. There can be compulsions along with it. I have to admit, it's fairly self-deprecating. I make a lot of fun of myself because I have been a type A all my life, and it's entertaining and it's insightful. And right now I've got some friends and associates reading it before it gets published, and it should be published by the end of next month, if not before.
Wow, how exciting. That is great. And what has inspired you to write that book, Vicki?
I believe that the trials of my upbringing that caused me to be as extreme a type A as I have been throughout most of my life, I think there are lessons in that. And with some distance from it in terms of time, it made me think, this, like To Sam with Love, the same reason for writing both books, because I think they both can help other people. And so speed bumps, as entertaining as it is, I think type A's can really relate and identify to a lot of what's in it. And type B's, those more relaxed types of people that are far more grounded, many of them have type A's in their lives.
Yeah.
And they're scratching their heads all the time trying to figure out why this person is motivated. This type A in their life is so motivated toward certain behaviors. And I think this is a way to understand them better.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that with us. And thank you for your time. And I wish you a lot of success, Vicki, in everything that you do in the publication of your book next month. And I wish the audience as well the very best. Thank you, everybody, for watching, sharing, and subscribing, and sending lots of love and light to all of you. Thank you. Bye-bye.